After years of hard work and planning, Springfield College now hosts the Deaf Community Home for the disabled and hearing impaired adults. There's no place like it anywhere in the region. Springfield College President Mary-Beth Cooper, former State Senator Gale Candaras, and project leader Betsy Davison came in to tell us more.
My son is profoundly deaf and intellectually disabled and a student at American School for the Deaf. And when we started looking at what next and about the future, not only for my son, but for many of the students that were at the school, we began to start to look into what was possible. And as we started to look at some of the services as they transition from what is an entitlement, which is your educational entitlement, at 22, the entitlement goes away and you become a part of the system. And there often are these services that are available. But when you're looking at folks who are profoundly deaf and intellectually disabled, and they use sign language as a form of communication, they often have this acute sense of being deprived of regular information. It can be really isolating socially, culturally, and linguistically. So my husband and I began to think about changing the model and about what are some of the possibilities for group living where these individuals could transition from school to their communities and have access to communication and be successful.
Let me go next to Mary-Beth Cooper, president of Springfield College. This project was underway, was rolling when you arrived a few years back, and you jumped right in and said, yeah, great, let's finish it, let's make it happen.
Absolutely. I arrived in Springfield in August of 2013, and I think I moved in most of my belongings, and Betsy showed up at my door day 2. It might not have been day 2, but it was pretty close.
Day 7.
Day 7, and she came and she said, I have a letter from Dr. Flynn that says that—
Your predecessor.
Correct, at Springfield College, that we have an exciting project. We hope that you're interested and you'll continue on and just jump on the moving train. And that's exactly what I did. I took a look at all the information. It was quite fortunate that I had a background working with the deaf and hard of hearing. I had come from RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, where we had 1,400 deaf and hard of hearing students. NTID is a part of that institution. And so I worked closely with those students and those faculty and staff and had an opportunity to learn sign language. And so I was very aware of many of the issues that our deaf and hard of hearing students have in terms of assimilation and the opportunities they have in front of them. And so for me, it was a perfect fit to make sure that we move the project forward.
If you're going to start a group home, you require all kinds of government permissions and oversight and ultimately financial support for the people who are going to be involved. You were the state senator. This was proposed for what was then your state Senate district, be in your state Senate district. You and other members of the local legislative delegation jumped right in and said, yeah, let's make it happen. You made quite an effort yourself.
So the Commonwealth had invested literally millions of dollars in young people, in supporting them, in educating kids who had developmental disabilities and also were deaf, profoundly deaf or otherwise deaf. But when they became 22 years old, they aged out of the system. And so with all of this tremendous money invested in them, we now sent them home to live with their parents in their homes in relative isolation, watching television all day for the most part. And that was a total waste, not only of human resources, but of taxpayer resources. Betsy was my constituent and now is, of course, my neighbor and my friend, and came to me not just with her son, who's a young man of college age, pretty much, but with a whole group of parents similarly situated. There simply were no resources for these young people who were aging out of the system in the entire Commonwealth. I think Betsy said there might have been 2 or 3 homes.
But they were in the eastern part of the state, nothing in our area, right?
State, nothing out here. And thus started the discussion with the Department of Developmental Disabilities and other state agencies to create a group home. Springfield College was the perfect synergy choice for this. The college is based on the ethic of humanics. More than 200 of its graduates this year are in the helping professions. They teach American Sign Language. President Cooper knows how to sign. And they greeted us with open arms. In fact, President Cooper actually hosted meetings of this large group of parents who had no resources for their children who were more than 22, but for their developmental disabilities and deafness would be on a college campus in many cases. And that's how it came to pass that this program started.
Betsy Davison, that's part of the beauty of it, because I know in one of the documents that you put forward proposing this, you talked about these young people, these adults, being in a world of profound isolation, to have a facility like you envisioned and now exists, and to have it at a place like Springfield College, filled with all kinds of interesting people and many, many young people. That was ideal, wasn't it?
Yes, we were looking at what the model currently was, what existed. And oftentimes you would have these group living situations, but they would be in a residential area. You would be in some other residence. In a traditional environment, these grown-ups, these individuals would live, but they have to be transported to work or to recreation, so forth and so on. And it dawned on us, just as President Cooper and Senator Candaras said, that bringing all of this together for the first time, where, for instance, you're providing the access to communication that they need, but you're matching it to a university where humanics and human services are first and foremost, but also the academics behind that, so that you could have students who could interact with the individuals, and you had the individuals who could interact with the students, and everyone won. It was a successful model for the first time, and nobody really had thought about that successful model where you could walk to work, walk to recreation, and the students could benefit. And so all of a sudden it became, you started to realize that it was a win-win for everyone.
Talk about the home, its own facility for about a year now, and a little less than that. And what does it mean to you, to other parents, to see the people you love who need this kind of facility finally have it?
It's life-changing. As a parent, it's life-changing. We go through this emotional process where we, just like every other parent, you have to let go. You have to say, I want them to be successful, to be independent. It's very hard, especially when you're tied emotionally to this enormous challenge, and you know that these individuals are enormously challenged. But for us as parents, all of us coming together and understanding that this relationship came together and it's going to be successful with all of these different collaborators, it's life-changing for the parents. You breathe. But also it's the opportunity for all of us to have a voice and go out and talk to the rest of the communities, not only here in Massachusetts, but across the nation, to be able to say, okay, it's been challenging. These women are incredible that are sitting next to me, and they believed in me. But we're going to give voice to this life-changing opportunity where everyone was successful. And let's spread it across, let's rethink how services are delivered to this population.
All the time we have. Thank you all for coming in. Thank you for what you're doing for the community.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having
Thanks
us.
so much, Jim. It's a pleasure.